can't show the link until Sister Samira's back on the platform. So brothers and sisters, next week, make sure you're ready. You saw, I'm not joking. Our September event's already sold out. So you know, if you're thinking that Brother Andrew's just gassing, then wait till October to get your tickets. And I promise you, you're not getting any tickets. Yeah. So brothers and sisters, we will be doing our private viewing, the UK premiere. The very first week it's out, we have locked down a whole cinema. It's going to be African themed, and we're going to be proud to be black on that day. I'm going to say that one more time. We are going to be proud to be black on that day. So next week, it's just for Hidden Truth family. If you've got brothers and sisters that you want to bring with you, if you're a member of the Hidden Truth family, you can do that. You can do that. But you got to remember, I'm not into just everyone coming all the time. That's good. But I want my Hidden Truth people to have some great times together. So brothers and sisters, next week, it will be available. Lick Shot, Pond Babylon, Rice and Peas, Buffalo Soldier, and a Dreadlock Rastafari. So brothers and sisters, tonight we're on time. In fact, we're early. We've hit the 300 figure. Make some phone calls right now, brothers and sisters. Say the main speaker is coming onto the Hidden Truth platform. We've got 300 laptops on there. We must have a much larger figure when we include those of you who have got your tablets and your mobile phones and whatever, okay? Can you believe I'm still letting people in? Why do you wait for the last minute to join us? Oh my God. Forgive me, brothers and sisters. People are still signing up. We've got over 300 now. Brothers and sisters, it's with my due respect to introduce to the platform one of the greatest minds globally when it comes to understanding Black economics, trauma, and the solutions for the way forward. We have just finished a few months ago. We ran one of our most successful courses with this brother, Dr. Reverend Shock, one of the greatest courses, and people were begging, Dr. Reverend, what's next? What's the next stage? This is the next stage, brothers and sisters. And he's got his new backing behind you. Brother, I love the colors behind you, brother. Lick Shot, Rastafari, chicken back, rice and peas. Jeez, come on, soldier. Reverend Shock, man, you're with us, man. It's been a long time, kid.
Oh, I love it. I just wonder who y'all introducing. I'm looking for this guy. That introduction is like, man, where is this dude? I want to sit and talk to this guy. My goodness, what's happening, family? I miss you guys. What's going on, Jarita?
Sister Jarita turned on her camera because that's about. What do you want to say to Reverend Shock, sister? What do you want to say to Reverend Shock?
Hey, sir, how are you doing? Good to see you.
I'm good now. I need to put this on my dresser every morning. That's what I need to do. I need this kind of energy every morning. This is phenomenal.
I don't have
Absolutely
no chicken
phenomenal.
back. I don't.
Oh, damn it. That's not good. That's not right.
But you can get something else. I don't know. We can figure out.
Okay. Thank you. Thank
How
you.
are you, sir? You good?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm crazy, but good. This is why we're here. I got some new technology that I'm going to be sharing with the community. So go ahead, Doc.
Brothers and sisters, Reverend Shock, I see that Ron Spears is on here tonight. Massive.
Yes, the physicist.
The physicist,
that's my guy.
Man. So
yeah, man. We got a major. He's got a major workshop coming up as well.
Yeah, love to see that, brother. Brothers and sisters, as Reverend Shock is getting ready, Reverend, just see if you can share your screen, my king. As Reverend Shock's getting ready, brothers and sisters, if you've not heard this brother before, sit down, buckle your seatbelts, brothers and sisters, because Kansas is going bye-bye tonight. We're going to wake up to this, brother, and wake up to the reality, because Reverend Shock knows that we're living, we've been having several conversations. Reverend Shock knows that the cost of living in this country is crazy. There's a tsunami on its way. But brothers and sisters, don't be afraid. We've got solutions. We've got ways forward. We've got unity on this platform. That's why there was no one else I could invite at the beginning of this next stages what's happening place. But Reverend Shock, before you start, my king, brothers and sisters, can you drop down what city? Just in the chat room right now, quickly. Drop down, what city are you tuning in from? I want Reverend Shock to understand that we're here with him tonight, man. So please, we've got London, we've got Babylon, Babylon, we've got Brixton, Hertfordshire, Chicago's in the house, Kent, Detroit, Wellingborough, Leeds, Hudson Valley, New York, Leeds, New York. We've got Enfield, we've got Washington, DC in the house. Come on, bro. We've got Atlanta in the house. We've got Harlesden in the house. We've got Oxford. We've got Nicaragua in the house. We've got California. We've got the big W, Walthamstow. Come on, man. Clapton, Finsbury Park, Brockley, Manchester, Ipswich. Come on, Ipswich. We've got Catford. We've got Haringey. We've got Toronto, Canada in the house. We've got Langley. We've got Nairobi. All right, in your mind, in your mind. We've got Brooklyn, New York. We've got St. Lucia. We've got Lewisham. We've got Reverend Shaw. I want you to see how many people are coming in for you, brother. We've got Clapham. We've got Kennington, South London, Sheffield. Come on, Sheffield. We've got Waterloo. We've got Bournemouth. Even they got lick up 9-0 this week on football, but no worries. We've got Luton, and it keeps coming in. Reverend Shock, we got the world waiting for you, brother.
Wow, man, y'all know how to make a brother feel good. Y'all know how to make a brother feel good and loved up. I'm tonight, loving brother. This.
I'm gonna shut my mouth. I'm gonna hand over to you, King.
All right, my God, I appreciate you. I love all of you out there. As I know, I can't see you in the chat because I have my full screen on my PowerPoint, but we always, well, let me see if this PowerPoint is working. There we go. So we always want to start with our affirmation of power, prosperity, and protection. So if you would indulge me, and I will say it first, and then you'll repeat it after me. I am one with first frequency.
I am one with first frequency.
I am one with the first thought idea.
I am one with the first thought idea.
I am one with the firstborn people.
I am one with the firstborn people.
I am one with the only one.
I am one with the only one.
Ashe.
Ashe.
And so it is.
And so it is.
I always dedicate my lectures, all my talks and everything to my three mothers, if you will, my three spiritual mothers. And the first mother, I'm known as a Johnny Coleman baby. I started attending Christ Universal Temple in Chicago when I was 10 years old. I'll be 57 in November. So that can kind of give you an idea of the legacy and the impact that Reverend Dr. Johnny Coleman has had in my life, who taught me that you are the thinker who thinks the thought that makes the thing. And we're going to talk about that today and talking about manifesting. Also, Reverend Dr. Helen Carey and Nana Francis Cress Welsing, Ashe, Ashe, and Ashe. What is first frequency of oneness? First frequency of oneness, science, manifestation, and prosperity is a theosophical-based social science ministry that exclusively teaches Black people how to create a spiritual, psychological, and emotional barrier to the second frequency racialized domestic terror that all of us have and are experiencing. First frequency of oneness removes Black people from the effects of their false racial identities, which we talk about and have talked about in the past, known as third and fourth frequency. First frequency of oneness helps Black people overcome their trauma bonding, their capture bonding, and Stockholm syndrome to second frequency whiteness, which is what the UK is going through right now economically. There's a trauma bond and a Stockholm syndrome that we're going to break today. First frequency of oneness is a culturally specific teaching ministry exclusively for Black people. We specialize in healing and removing the ancestral, historical, and incarnate trauma within all Black people. We help Black people reveal their natural and original first frequency signal or vibration. First frequency of oneness is based on African sacred science, not self-help systems for self-esteem. This is a science-based process, and we are a teaching ministry, not a preaching ministry. Now, who am I? I am known as the metaphysical Morpheus. I have so many different AKAs that the community has given me. I believe Sister Buquette is on the platform today, and she has nicknamed me Shokalicious. So that's going to be my new stripper name. So if you see me on a pole, just that's not Rev Shock, that's Shokalicious on the pole out there. So I have
Reverend,
Rev
you're
Shock,
killing
Silk
me.
Shock.
You're killing me,
Hey, man,
brother.
that's what
You're
they
killing
do.
me.
You know, the economy is hurting right now, so Rev Shock got to do a little side hustle. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, so I have a doctorate in metaphysical science and philosophy. I'm the founder of First Frequency of Oneness. And you can go to firstfrequency.com. Shock, by the way, stands for Seeking Higher Omnipotent Conscious or Cosmic Knowledge. I'm the founder of the Shock Metaphysics Virtual Comedic Wisdom School, where all of the great scholars have contributed with 3 years of virtual content. When you sign up, it runs for 3 years. Every week, you'll get a new lesson plan from people like Kaba Hiawatha, James Smalls, Leonard Jeffries. The list goes on and on. I've also authored over 20 books, special reports, and 7 bestsellers. Now, what I want you to do today, this is going to be some new research and insight that I'm going to be bringing to the community. And I'm always breaking new research when I come onto this platform. I don't know what it is with Andrew. Whenever he calls me and asks me to come on, I always have to show up with like that new and with the best of the best, because I don't want to disappoint my community over the pond. So what I want to talk about today is that, and the thing, we are not cursed, right? There's a concept that Black people are cursed. We are not cursed. We are temporarily interrupted, right? So when we understand frequency and we understand that in order to counter the narrative of what has happened to us, because nothing is wrong with us, something happened to us, we have to counter frequency, a negative frequency, with a positive frequency. And that's who we are. And that's what we're going to be going through today. But I really want to first introduce you to the trauma that fuels racialized Black poverty and financial struggle. And that trauma is known as ambiguous loss and trauma. Now, we're going to go deep into this, family, because this is new. A lot of people have not heard of this. Of course, Europeans have worked with this for a long time, but they have never attributed this science to the African diaspora and so on and so forth. So ambiguous loss is a loss that has no closure. Pauline Boss coined the term and invented a new field within psychology to name the reality that every loss does not hold a promise of anything like resolution. She's a professor emeritus at the University of Minnesota and has authored the book Ambiguous Loss. And so it's a loss that occurs without closure or understanding, leaving a person searching for answers. Thus, complicates and delays the process of grieving, often results in unresolved grief, frozen, living in limbo. When you are struggling financially, family, as many of you are going through, and we have gone through, I have gone through, I was born poor in Chicago, with welfare, special ed, just the worst conditions that you can imagine. There's an ambiguous loss there because it's something that happens where it's no closure. And we're going to go really deep into this this evening to help you understand nothing's wrong with you economically. Something has happened to you economically that has created an ambiguous loss and a trauma imprint that you feel you might never get out because it never closes. So you start out young and you start to grow up and you go into your 20s and you've got all of this hopes and dreams and desires. Then you go into your 30s and things are starting to get a little real, a lot more accountability, but you're still not able to get your footing financially, still not able to manifest the life, the goals, the dreams and desires that you had when you were in your 20s and when you were younger. Then you hit your 40s, and then there's another completely different world that starts to happen of responsibility and accountability. And so it just seems like, you know, you're taking 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. It's because this is a social engineering deliberate process on Black people worldwide. And what we're going to do today is break this myth. We're going to break what has happened to you so you can understand and have language and a category as to what has happened and what is continuing to happen, and we're going to be able to back that up. There are two types of ambiguous loss. One is physical and the other is psychological. Now, in the psychological, so let's do physical. So let's say you have a new brother or sister in the house from adoption or from other circumstances. It changes the dynamic of the family. Migration, if you moved or had to move or were forced to move from one community to another because of economics, that's an ambiguous loss because you can't get that back again. And so when you have when someone's missing, we have a lot of Black people who are missing, yet you might hope that they're alive, but you don't know. But that is a loss and it's ambiguous. And so I want you to really understand what ambiguity means as it relates to our personal trauma. Natural disaster and catastrophic tragedy, the 9/11s, the hurricanes, Katrina, the floods, all of these are things that we can't go back. I was on here once before and I was talking about the concept of the metaphysical identity crisis known as chemicalization. And it's when an event occurs whereby you can never go back again to the way it used to be, and you are forever changed as a result of that. It creates ambiguity because you have no memory of this new life and situation that you're in, nor do you necessarily know what to do when you're in it, but you can't go back anymore to the life that once was. When I lost my mother and father when I was 14, that's an ambiguous loss. I can't get that back. As a result of that, I had to learn how to create a level of resilience to move forward. So we're going to understand what happened to us economically and apply this concept to what is going on with us in our financial lives. The effects of ambiguous loss is an emotional roller coaster. It changes families, it changes relationships, roles, and identity. It can change your spiritual beliefs. And it also causes you, and this is something I've gone through personally, withdrawal and isolate yourself. So we got to learn to live with these emotional tidal waves, but we're going to go in really deep now as we understand the genesis of Black economic ambiguous loss is based on in the science of Africana phenomenology, the Dr. Marie Charles, shout out to Dr. Marie Charles, who gave me that discipline and level of study. Everything is coming from what Du Bois refers to as double consciousness. And so that double consciousness is when a Black body interfaces or clashes with a white body or white ideology. It creates a double consciousness in that Black person, because that Black person has access to their identity. This is when the identity splits. So colonization, the invention of white people as a matter of law in America, all of this has created double consciousness. And Du Bois says one ever feels his two-ness. An American, a Negro, two souls, two thoughts, two unreconciled, strivings, two warring ideals in one dark body whose dogged strength alone keeps it from being torn asunder. And this, of course, is in his amazing work of our spiritual strivings. Now, in Du Bois' view, whiteness was a mythology that denied the humanity of non-whites by asserting an implausible truth that if everything in the world was white, then the world would exist at the pinnacle of civilization. Du Bois understands that the efforts to dehumanize Africans correlated to the economic needs of the West to take resources and exploit human beings for labor. We're going to go deep into this to understand what has happened to us economically. We talk about trauma as it, we talk about trauma as it relates to just our living conditions. But we've never really had a conversation about trauma as it relates to us economically. So understanding Black economic ambiguous loss and trauma, it feels like an overwhelming sense of past, current, and future loss or failures. The confusion of not knowing how or when you are going to get out of debt and live your best life freezes the grieving process. People plummet from hope to hopelessness and back again. Depression, anxiety, and somatic illness often set in. So the seat of our mental illness in our communities is ambiguous trauma and loss, because we never got a chance to get our 40 acres and a mule. We never got a chance to live our best selves and our best lives. Then on top of that, we have all the other trauma that we have to deal with in what we call the Ma'afa, the Black Holocaust, or just living amongst second frequency whiteness and having to deal with this every single day of our lives. All the losses experienced in personal relationship, ambiguous loss is the most devastating because it remains unclear and indeterminate. When are you going to get that check? We talk about reparations. When are you going to come up? When are you going to get out? How are you going to get out? Have you gone too far where it's almost a terminal illness or a life sentence where you just feel actually helpless and hopeless? I remember there was a young lady back in March when we did our workshop with Brother Andrew Muhammad, and she came on and she says, I just feel like this is another thing that I'm going to do and it's not going to work. And that is indicative of ambiguous loss and trauma. It is a sense of hopelessness to the degree that you then start to sabotage your future because you no longer can see yourself in it. So when you cannot see yourself in the future and you have given up through apathy, through just and all of this loss that you have experienced, you sabotage your future. But the other part of that is epigenetically within your family structure and within your social structure, you also help destroy the hopes and dreams of your children and the people in your community. People experiencing ambiguous loss are often criticized for not finding closure, isolated and trapped between hope and despair. One day it's going to get better. So this is where we live in hope, and we hope for a white Jesus or a black Jesus to come and save us. But most of us live in that despair, knowing that it hasn't happened. It's not probably more than likely not going to happen. So we just oscillate back and forth, and that's the term for this back and forth. It's called oscillation. Isolated and trapped between hope and despair, they manifest lingering grief symptoms, often mistakenly diagnosed as personal, marital, or familial pathology. Again, there it is. Nothing's wrong with you. Something has happened to you, and it has affected you. Subsequently, it has affected or infected your family. It's infected your friends. Why can't we sustain good relationships? Why can't we sustain wealth and economics? Why is it that when I manifest something, it goes away, or it damages, or it's not the right way? What is going on here? And we're going to go into what actually is happening with us. So let's talk about this concept, pupil to prison. According to Stephen Cohen, Forbes magazine contributor, says Texas uses fourth grade reading scores, watch this, fourth grade reading scores to project the number of prison cells they're going to need 10 years later. This is what we're dealing with right now. I don't know what they do here, do in the UK, but here I would assume pretty much the same thing. The number one reason states have private prisons is that they are a cash cow for the privileged elite. Private prisons sue states for millions if they don't stay full. Let me read that again. The private prisons sue the state for millions of dollars if the prisons are not full and can stay full. You understand? This is done to us. Understand what's going on? Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Shut the front door. What are you? Oh, brother, say that one more time.
This is the real thing, family. A lot of us are locked up. A lot of our family members, our fathers, our brothers, our uncles, our cousins are locked up because it's mandatory. It's mandatory to keep the prison full. If the prison isn't full, then some group of white people, privileged white people, are not making any money. So there's no money in not having, when somebody mentioned earlier about bums and seats, there's no money in not having bums and seats in the prison system. So if the prison system, if something happens where crime rate goes down, and you can refer to Michelle Alexander's book, The New Jim Crow, where she actually mapped out and showed you that at one point the prisons were closing because there was not enough crime. So they had to manufacture, which is when they brought in crack cocaine and manufactured that. They used Freeway Ricky Ross, who's been on my platform twice, who explained exactly how they manufactured crime to lock up not just the person who sold crack, but the person who used crack. So mothers and fathers, entire communities were fractured. This is ambiguous loss. You can't get that time back. You can't get that loss back. Now, I'm going to give you some secrets of what to do about it, but it creates a trauma imprint because it ruptures the fabric of the family. Low crime rates are bad for business, for white-owned private prisons, and that they demand the states to keep them full. Cohen writes, the prison industrial complex is so out of control that private prisons have the sheer audacity to order states to keep beds full or face their wrath with stiff financial penalties. Private prisons in some states have language in their contracts that if they fall below a certain percentage of capacity, the states must pay the private prisons millions of dollars, lest they face a lawsuit for millions more. Do you understand what's going on here, family? See, this is the matrix. This is what is going on and what it's looking like. And this affects all of us. As a result, there's an ambiguous loss that comes with this. And so what we want to understand, or what I want you guys to understand, is how your government, my government, and all governments see us and view us. We're simply a battery. We're simply a number. We're a battery for second frequency. I don't know in your neck of the woods. Here we call it a FICO score. Your FICO score is your financial frequency. Your FICO score tracks the level of your buying power. This is all that second frequency white European world thinks about and cares about. How much money do you have, and how much money are you going to give me or spend with me? Large corporations pay millions of dollars to collect your census information so that they can be sold products and services that keep populations in their place. From birth, you were born into a system that trains you to be a method of fuel for a system known as taxes. This is why the more you work a job, the more you pay in taxes, right? So if you can't get one job, if you can't make enough money on one job, what do you have to do? You got to get another job, right? So you got another job and you're paying even more taxes. It's a system that creates ambiguous loss where you can never get out. You can never get your footing. We have to learn how to get out. We're going to go through that process, and I'm going to walk you through that. This is why, so this is one of the underlying messages and principles of the Matrix. The true reason for human existence is to be a battery, a mechanism of fuel that feeds the complex system called the Matrix or the middle class. Let's watch this.
The human body generates more bioelectricity than a 120-volt battery and over 25,000 BTUs of body heat. Combined with a form of fusion, the machines had found all the energy they would ever need. There are fields now, endless fields, where human beings are no longer born. We are grown. For the longest time, I wouldn't believe it. And then I saw the fields with my own eyes. Watched them liquefy the dead so they could be fed intravenously to the living. And standing there, facing the pure, horrifying precision, I came to realize the obviousness of the truth. What is the Matrix? Control. The Matrix is a computer-generated dream world, built to keep us under control in order to change a human being into this.
There it is, family. The middle class and labor force fuel the financial system of the government and only gives you 2 days a week, Saturday and Sunday, to figure out how to beat the system, right? So this is a very well oiled machine, socially engineered process to keep us in poverty, to keep us in lack and limitation, to keep us afraid, to keep us from figuring out how to get out. Another name for the system of the matrix is called the rat race. And it's not an accident, but a well-oiled machine designed, implemented, and enforced by second frequency law, which of course we know is white European. Your social security number is a measurement used to define your age or chronological net value. Pi ratio, I don't know if Pi ratio is out there, but he is the expert on this and has done the math. He's one of our greatest mathematicians, African-centered mathematicians at TEPA-SEB. And this is exactly what he talks about in terms of what your human code, H-U-E, what your human code is. There's a specific number that's associated with your birthday that will determine what the outcome of your life is going to be, but more so what you need to do. And he's going to be part of our workshop, what you need to do and where you need to go, what industry is best suited for you, what is best suited for you to do in terms of getting out, creating economic gain for yourself and for your family, to counter this double consciousness that we're dealing with, this Du Boisian double consciousness of interfacing and having our signal, our African first frequency signal, interrupted. Each system is layered to be invisible and disguised to make life appear easier, but in reality, it makes life harder and more predictable. Now watch this, a predictable population is a controlled population. A predictable population is a controlled population. So Black economic ambiguous loss and trauma keeps us trapped in an economic matrix. This is also known as axiology. Axiology is how the environment shapes your human values and shapes values of the community. Our environment socially engineers us to be in poverty and financial struggle. Racialized poverty is fueled by the media, designed as propaganda to ensure we never get out and never figure out how to get out. Now, as I said, I'll be 57 in November. So I remember sitting with my mother and my sister and watching Good Times. And one of the things that socially programmed me in this program, of course, there's Black people, Black family on, they're in the projects. But if you go back on YouTube and watch a couple of episodes of Good Times, the running theme of Good Times, the title meant good times, being and living in poverty and never winning. Every single episode that I watched as a child watching this show, I began to code and realize that no matter what my mommy or daddy does, no matter what I do, I'm never going to win. I'm never going to get out, because James and Florence and JJ, they never win. Every week they lose. They get an idea, something happens, they get excited, and by the end of that last segment of the program, they suffer a loss and they never win. That was the installation of my ambiguous loss and trauma. I hope you're seeing yourself in this data. I hope you're understanding what I'm bringing to you. As Andrew would ask, put some ones in the chat. I can't see it, but I'll be able to see it later if this is making sense to you. Pauline Boss says this: the inability to resolve such ambiguous losses is due to the outside situation, not the internal personality defects. See, we're blaming ourselves. Something's wrong with me. I ain't no good. I'm an alcoholic. I'm this, I'm that. I ain't shit. I'm no good in the world. No, you are. Something has happened to you outside of you that has caused you to act in an unnatural way. So I want you to understand this. This is science. The outside force that freezes the grief is the uncertainty and ambiguity of the loss. So why is daddy an alcoholic? Why is he so angry all the time? Because he can't get make enough money to feed the family, take care of the family, and feed himself. Why is mommy drinking so much? Because she's suffering so much ambiguous loss. She doesn't have a name for it. It just looks like I'm losing in life. I'm not winning. I'm barely surviving. And so if they can keep you in a survivor mentality versus a thriving mentality, second frequency can stay on top. But what we're going to do with this process today and with the workshop that we have behind this is we're going to show you exactly how to get out, how to fight your ambiguous loss, how to remove that trauma imprint that is within us all. But I want to go through all of the different understandings of how this trauma fuels all of the other trauma imprints that we deal with as Black people worldwide. And it doesn't matter where you're at economically. If you're a multimillionaire, you're going through this and have suffered ambiguous loss. If you are poorest of the poor, you are going through this. It doesn't matter your academia, if you have a GED or a PhD, all of us Black people have experienced by matter of degree ambiguous loss. So economic goals, dreams and aspirations create thought loops, which are thoughts that demand attention or require attention. An open loop occurs in the body system. A body-mind function is then activated to close it. So give you an example. An itch is an open loop, but it also could be a question that requires a scratch, which is, of course, the answer to the question. So scratching or finding solutions to our problems alleviates the itch, thereby closing the loop. A natural open loop is one in which the action or answer closes the loop. However, Black economic ambiguous loss and trauma does not allow this brain process to manifest. How many questions have you asked? Why am I going through this? Why me? Why can't I get out? Why can't I move myself forward? Why does this keep coming up? Why do people keep betraying me? Why do people reject me? And then you start to think you're a bad person, but all of that is ambiguous loss that's building up. And it's an open loop because it's an itch that can't be scratched. You can't find an answer. You can't find resolve. You can't find relief. So that itch then becomes mental illness and starts to look like pathology. Hopefully, as this is making sense to the family and the community. Black ambiguous loss and trauma creates arrested development in our children. I forgot the brother's name, and the Lusters. I love the Lusters. I used to be in the hair care industry back in the day. I went to Debbie School of Beauty Culture when I was 18, 19 years old. So I grew up on Luster products and went to all the beauty shows and stuff like that in here in America. And I remember the brother was talking about doing this for the children. It's so radically important, family, that you talk to your children about and look at and begin to try to see where is the ambiguous loss in your child. When they go to school, there's an ambiguous loss because they're told they're not good enough. They're told they're dumb. There's someone put in special ed. I was put in special ed. I was told that I was a functional illiterate. Can you believe that? Reverend Dr. Shock is a functional illiterate. So when you come from that level of poverty and shame, where you have to sometimes beg others for food, for money, to pay your bills, it creates such a trauma imprint of ambiguity because you cannot solve that problem, resolve that problem, and the shame sometimes can be absolutely devastating. So in medicine, the term arrested development was first used in 1835-36 to mean a stoppage of physical development. The term continues to be used similarly. Black economic ambiguous loss and trauma, along with poverty, impacts brain function. and student behavior, often spurring unconscious biases from educators. Now, some of you might have kids and you try to maybe shield your child from your financial struggle, your lack of limitations that you're not able to provide for your child. But the child still feels it because it's epigenetic. It's called vertical transmission. Vertical transmission is from parent to child. So even if you don't say anything to your baby feels mommy and daddy, and will feel some kind of way, and will take that attitudinally, behaviorally to school in their peer group, and it will start to cause them to have symptoms of attention deficit disorder, not being able to concentrate, or sometimes it moves all the way over where they become bullies, and because of their suffering of vacant esteem, they start to harm themselves and others. It could be a myriad of things. But understand, it all comes from social engineering of economic loss. And this economic loss has an ambiguity because you can't quite put your finger on what's happening to you, but you know something is happening, but you don't feel like you have control over it. So we're going to go deep into this as we, excuse me, as we move forward. Imagine being fully grown, woman or man, but have the emotional intelligence of a preteen. This is what arrested development does. This dynamic will cause you to overreact, overreach, and overcompensate. Additionally, it can cause you to underestimate, prejudge, and jump to conclusions, what we call Dunning-Kruger effect bias. You are a child in an adult body trying to navigate adulthood from a fragmented consciousness and shattered identity due to the Black economic ambiguous loss and trauma. So therefore, you will inevitably self-sabotage yourself, you will make error judgments, and you will create maddening insecurity. So you can begin to see the perpetuation of this and how you're running to stand still on a treadmill, and you're looking at a carrot that you want to grasp and get, but you can somehow never really quite get it. And all of this is due to ambiguous trauma. Ain't nothing wrong with Black people. A lot of ish has happened to Black people. So let's look at a little brain science, and I've showed this to you before, but I really want you to understand how the brain functions with ambiguous loss. It inhibits what's known as the VMPSC, which is the ventral medial prefrontal cortex. It regulates and metabolizes stress. And if it is damaged, when you have an overwhelming sense of stress, an overwhelming loss, but then the loss becomes a domino effect. You try to take your girl out or the family out for dinner that you really can't afford, but you stretch and you try to do it. You come out and your car is towed. Now you don't have the money. Barely had the money to tip the waiter for the food. You don't have the money to get the car out. Now you got to figure out how you're gonna get everybody home. You have to figure out how you're gonna get your car. You got to go to work tomorrow. You can't. You ain't got enough money to rent a car. Now all of a sudden you're in a situation where this is a stacking of levels of stress based on economic loss and ambiguous economic loss. As a result, you then you figure out how to get your car out, but you now have lost so much time or money. Let's say that you're minding your own business, driving down the street, the police pull you over. They lock you up for 3 days over the weekend. You lose your job, you lose your income, you lose time, you lose face in the community. All of that is ambiguous loss. How do you make it back? How do you reinvent yourself? A sudden death in the family could be the death of the breadwinner of the family, could be the death of a loved one in the family, and it changes the family dynamics forever because you never get back on your feet, because second frequency whiteness has placed the Black people in a self-regulating, self-perpetuating economic ambiguous loss. And that's what the VMPFC is supposed to do. It's supposed to give you a sense of being able to handle your level of stress. But when it's so much stress coming onto you from many different areas, you start to decompensate, it starts to decompose, and now you start to act unnaturally. Someone said that when you are not in a natural environment, it's natural that you will act unnaturally. So we want to understand what is going on with the family. And so let's look at the family dynamics of ambiguous economic loss and trauma. And it's mighty quiet. I don't hear Brother Andrew. Brother Andrew, how am I doing? And what's my time looking like?
Brother, there were so many times I wanted to come in, brother. Brother, you're making too much sense. The chapter.
Oh, that's messed up. How you make too much damn sense,
brother? People, don't worry, brother. People are typing, people are commenting. This is so awesome, brother. And you just reminded me why. Not only do I love you, brother, but you reminded me that you were the person for this time, for this moment, brother. We need this, and the solutions and the angle you're coming from. You're explaining so much, and it makes so much common sense. Thank you, brother.
Oh, thank you, Baba. I appreciate that, beloved. Thank you for that. With Black economic ambiguous loss and trauma, we aren't always absolutely clear about who is family, even in our own families. The composition of the family keeps changing in the minds of family members as conditions change and losses and additions occur. The effects of structural Black economic ambiguous loss and trauma are indicated by unfulfilled roles, delayed decisions, undone tasks, and all too often canceled rituals and celebrations. The family no longer functions. For individual family members, Black economic ambiguous loss and trauma creates symptoms of depression, anxiety, as well as feelings of hopelessness and helplessness with a confused identity. The stressor of Black economic ambiguous loss and trauma ruptures marital and family relationships, and thus the systemic processes of grieving, coping, decision-making, and transformation in the face of change. Without intervention to reinforce that it is typical to see the situation of Black economic loss and trauma differently, the conflict will intensify and lead to family rifts and alienations. Now, I don't know the Lusters personally, but I know that every family like the Lusters, particularly those that become multimillionaires over a period of time and have generational wealth and family wealth, they are suffering from ambiguous loss that is unimaginable. There's something that they don't talk about probably publicly because, first of all, I believe, and some of you might be able to correct me if I'm incorrect, I think I'm the only minister and PhD that is talking about ambiguous loss and trauma in the Black community ever. So this has never been, I've not seen this work in all of the 35 years that I've been doing interviews with the elite thinkers and elders. I've never seen them come out with this understanding and with this technology of what has happened to Black people in the Black family. So family members can become so preoccupied with Black economic ambiguous loss and trauma that they withdraw from one another. We've seen this. This has happened to me. Okay, I don't know about y'all, but my family life was effed up. Okay, the family becomes a system with nobody in it. You guys are damn near just roommates. You're not even family anymore. You're living in the same house, but you just don't have any interaction with each other. You go to your separate spaces, you separate devices, and you're no longer a family. Because Black economic ambiguous loss and trauma is so often long-term, in its inability to be resolved, it is traumatizing for individuals and families who must live with it. Black economic ambiguous loss and trauma can cause personal and family problems, not because of flaws in the psyches of those experiencing the loss, but because of situations beyond their control or outside constraints that block the coping and grieving process. That right there, family, is what I'm talking about. Ain't a damn thing wrong with Black people. There's an outside force, and we're not cursed. We're under a spell. We're interrupted. There's a frequency that we have to interrupt, because if you don't interrupt it, it will cause your entire, you might get money, you might get the goal, but you lose your wife and kids or husband and kids. You lose your family. You
Can I-
lose yourself. Go,
can I-
so go ahead. Who is this?
Yeah, brother Andrew Mohammed King.
Oh,
brother,
yeah. I'm sorry, brother. Go ahead.
brother, no, brother. This is so. It's beautiful and painful at the same time listening to you.
Yes.
Beautiful
Yes.
because truth always looks beautiful. Painful because of the consequences in which you're saying at the same time. And brother, believe me, Dr. Reverend, on a weekly basis, I stress on this platform how many frequencies are trying to stop us just doing a weekly show.
That's
is
right.
not
That's
about
right.
hating people. You know, it's just
That's
about
right.
bringing us together, uplifting us, inspiring us. If the people on the platform knew what takes place behind the scenes,
Oh, my God. Yes.
this ain't no paranoia. This is a
Right.
real living
Yes.
force from real living people that don't want us to hear this type of truth at all.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You bring it's so powerful. It's powerful and painful at the same time. You're absolutely on point, beloved Andrew, because to put on to do this level of research, there's a cost. To do your show every week, there's a cost. And it becomes ambiguous because it changes and alters the family dynamic. There might be family members that want your time. There might be non-family members that want your time, but you don't have it because you've got to keep this machine not only going, but you also have to keep the machine growing.
Teach.
And that dynamic between keeping it going and keeping it growing becomes all time consuming. And whenever there's a dip economically, regardless of what happens, positive or negative, is always going to be your fault. And so you're going to be responsible and accountable for it, but it changes the family dynamic. That creates a level of stress that's on Andrew, on myself. I just did a show with Reverend Dr. Ray Hagins, Reverend Dr. AJ Varmer, Reverend Dr. Philippe Shock Matthews, me, and Dr. AJ Varmer, and Dr. Elaine Ferguson. We did this show because I recently almost died of COVID a couple of months or so ago back. Dr. Ray almost died last year from it, and he saved my life by sending me some ivermectin, and I was able to make a full recovery literally within 6 hours, but it was slim pickings going. So that was creating ambiguous loss and trauma, all the ghosting trauma of all the losses and failures that I've had in my previous earlier part of my life. All of that comes up. And at a point, and this is what Dr. Ray Hagan said too, at a point when I was so sick, I literally asked Amma to take me. I wanted to die. I didn't want to be here anymore. I was tired. I'm like, I'm done with this. And this is why it's very important to understand what has happened to you, because if you don't know what has happened to you, you will check yourself out. You will harm yourself irrevocably. And as a result, you're no longer on this planet, but you're not on the planet because of a natural situation. It's because you were put in an unnatural environment and situation. And so,
Dr.
go
Reverend,
ahead, my beloved.
Dr. Reverend,
Yes.
please, I can't allow you to say that and stay silent, King. Brothers and sisters,
Yes.
can we please, in the chat room, please thank our ancestors, thank the infinite intelligence, thank God, thank Jehovah, thank Yahweh, thank any force that you believe is a guiding force in this universe, that our brother is still with us today. Because we need, at a time like this, we need every single soldier in the ranks, brothers and sisters. And this brother, he's got his battle scars, man. He doesn't have to prove it to anyone. No, real talk, my king.
Real talk. Real talk. Facts.
You don't have to prove anything to anyone, brother. They could just sit back and look at your works and the people and the millions that you've affected worldwide. So we thank, I say thank Allah. You thank whatever force, or if it's the ancestors or whatever it may be. Brothers and sisters, let's show our love, man. Sorry, my brother.
Sure. I appreciate you and love you back for that. I love you back. So this is really important. This last sentence is about, it's not because of flaws in our psyche of experiencing the loss, but because of situations beyond our control that is outside constraining us, that's blocking our ability to cope and to grieve from this ambiguous loss. Now, when we are not able to pay our bills, get out of debt, buy necessities, feed our families, plan for the future, Black economic loss freezes us in time. Remember, we are dealing with people from the ice. We're dealing with people who are frozen in time. We're dealing with people who are not of the same species as us, because we're children of the sun versus children of the ice. And so when they captured, corralled, and controlled us, they froze us in their time. And that was a signal interruption of African thought and African movement in the world. We constantly live between hope and despair, the hope that one day it will get better, and the despair that it may never get better. So this triggers what's known as STEM. And hopefully you guys can write this down. And if you become a Patreon member, you'll get this PowerPoint. Space, time, energy, and movement. Black economic, ambiguous loss and trauma triggers STEM, because continual or chronic financial loss and a lack of opportunity permeates our space, takes up all of our time, kills our energy, and stops our movement forward. So understand, I want you to be able to see yourself in this data, see yourself in this process, so that you can first figure out what we're going to do about it. But we're going to give you the solutions to the problem. Now, Black economic ambiguous loss and trauma locks us into an invisible bubble or zip code of perpetual loss and survival. There may be, they may also be stress-related illnesses, substance abuse, which is addictions, abuse of self, so you cut yourself, you harm yourself, you hurt yourself, or you hurt others. Domestic violence is at the core of ambiguous loss, economic loss, and trauma. People who beat animals and harm animals. We are acting up and acting out because we're hurt. We're hurt. We have suffered tremendous loss, and that loss, we have a memory of it, which is known as genetic memory, and has now become epigenetic. So we even come here with the ambiguous loss of our ancestors. And so once we understand that this is inside of us, and then it fuels all of our other traumas, the 4 traumas, but one of the traumas that's the most insidious trauma is what's called decontextualized trauma. Decontextualized trauma, you don't have a time date or a time step as to when that trauma was imprinted into your nervous system or subconscious mind. As a result, it's ambiguous. And so you need to have an expert, somebody like myself, who understands this stuff. Otherwise, people go to counseling, people even go to trauma experts, and it just loops and cycles, and nothing changes. Nothing changes. You feel better maybe for a little bit. Some people might be just addicted to Jesus every week. Let me just go to church. Let me just go and get some of that music, get the word, and that makes them feel better, but it doesn't solve the problem. It doesn't remove the trauma imprint that is operating as your personality, because that's what people don't understand. When trauma goes unabated, when trauma becomes decontextualized or hazy, you start to act like your trauma, and it starts to look like your personality. That's just the way Jim has always been that way when he gets upset. Susan always yells and screams and throw things like that when that's just the way it starts to look like personality. So what happens when you grow up with a traumatic personality, which could be your mother, father, brother, sister, uncle, so on and so forth. So understand, there may also be stress-related illnesses, abuse, and suicidal ideation. The highs, the lows, the hope, the despair, the dance of Black economic ambiguous loss and trauma is what researchers, and I talked about this earlier, is called oscillation. So sometimes we're up, sometimes we're down. 2 steps forward, 2 steps back. That's oscillation in the world of psychology and the science of psychology, or the discipline of that. And so what we have to do is we have to shock our system to stop that oscillating back and forth, so that we continually and perpetually move forward doing what we want to do, reaching what we want to reach in this lifetime. The system that we are, that is in place, that is upon us, wants to wait for us to die to experience heaven. That's what we've been conditioned to do. That, I of yourself can do nothing, but the spirit within me does the work. And it's not until you are dead that then you go to heaven. I want heaven on earth. I want heaven in real time. I want to experience heaven right now because God made me first. Amma made me first. Amma said yes to me on my earth day, on my solar return. All of us are the children of the Most High, and we are the first concept and the first idea of the divine. The divine created the African first. Why? That means we're the strongest, we're the most durable, we're the most venerable force. We are, what was that movie that Viola Davis is? We are spiritual warriors. It's inside of us. But because of this interruption, we feel sometimes hopeless and helpless. We don't know what to do. There's so much loss. It's a domino effect sometimes that happens with us, where the rug and the carpet is snatched out from under you. When my parents divorced when I was 6 years old, I started having psychological issues and tics. My mother put me in Catholic school where they used to beat me and abuse me, and I started developing all these kind of different tics and things that were happening. She pulled me out of Catholic school, put me in public school. In public school, I started acting up. I had ADD, ADHD. I couldn't focus. I couldn't concentrate because every time I would come home, my mommy and daddy would be arguing and fussing and shooting at each other and throwing stuff and yelling and screaming. And so I go to school and I can't think and concentrate. So I end up in special ed. So parents divorced when I'm 6. My father leaves out. So that's another ambiguous loss. Where is he? He's alive, but I don't know where he is, and he ain't coming to see me. He'll call and say, hey, I'm on my way over, and I'll stand by the screen door waiting for him to come home, and he never shows up. So these are the things that are ambiguous losses that happen to some of us. Mom is not emotionally available. She's drinking a little bit too much because she's dealing with Pop and his situation of abandoning her. Then at age 10, my mom finds out that she has 4 months to live. So now mom is dying. That's another ambiguous loss, particularly on the 10-year-old. So that's when we started going to Reverend Dr. Johnny Coleman's church, Christ Universal Temple. She ended up living 4 years, but still she died when I was 14, which is a pivotal time in any teenager's life or preteen's life or whatever that demographic is. So mom dies literally in my arms. We were broke poor. Again, another ambiguous loss. Didn't have a phone because we couldn't pay the phone bill. We didn't have heat because we couldn't pay the oil bill, because at that time, back in the day, you had to go have the oil company come and fill up an oil tank. So I know I'm a little old, but that's for the young folks out there. So I had to go next door to call the ambulance to come get my mother, and to call my father and say, Johnny, because he never allowed me to call him dad, another ambiguous loss and trauma imprint. I'd never felt love from my father. Dad, mom is dead. So dad comes back, Johnny comes back into our lives. Now, mind you, my sister hates my father because he's not, my sister had a different father named Booker. My father, when my sister was 19, hit her on the head, hit her upside the head with a hammer and gave her 19 stitches. So now she hates men. It don't matter what kind of, she hates men. And it's epigenetic, it's ambiguous. She doesn't know the date that trauma became decontextualized. So now here comes the man back in the family that physically harmed her, that abandoned me and left me and my mother. And now he's in our lives. 2 months later, my mother died in February. 2 months later, he drops dead in front of me in April. Now you begin to see the ambiguous loss of how this piles up on a human being. What am I supposed to do? Of course, we lose the house, right? Because we can't pay for it. So we lose the house. So we move into the basement with my father, then he dies. So now what do? My sister is living with the grandparents on my mother's side. Just give you a little background and understand ambiguous loss. Maybe you can see yourself in some of my story, some of my life, and what I've gone through, and why I'm the world expert on this topic. Now I'm 15, by the way, at this time, because it's transitioning now from April. My father's family comes into our lives, but they're all thugs, alcoholics, drunks. I mean, they went through hell and trauma as well. And so my mom never wanted me to mess with that side of the family. So it's just now my sister and I, who's 16 years older than me, her life is completely interrupted. She's completely interrupted because now she's a forced parent or guardian of me. So now I get a job at Kentucky Fried Chicken, my first job and last. But my first job was at Kentucky Fried Chicken. I'm a cook making $3.35 an hour. And we're living in poverty. We're living in abject poverty in Chicago, right? This is before the crack epidemic or pandemic, but I lived through that entire process. I'm not going to go on, but I want you to understand every one of us, all the scholars, all of us, all the elders, we've all gone through hell, and all of us have ambiguous trauma and loss. We'll try to hide it. We'll lie to ourselves, subsequently lying to you, and make it look like we're doing okay when we're really not. This is why you need to check up on your scholars and elders. If you love them, call them and check up on them, because you don't know what they're going through because of that ambiguous loss and trauma that creates so much shame and despair in each of us. And we're trying to come together, help the community, but then the community is not reciprocating and giving that back to us. And so again, more ambiguous trauma and loss. This is what's going on, family. So as a result, I want you to understand this creates learned helplessness and learned hopelessness. Black economic trauma and loss creates the stacking of, it's a stacking of multiple events. As I mentioned about my personal story, it wasn't one thing that happened to me. It's not one thing that has happened to us. It's multiplicable. There's multiple things, many things that has happened to us that is still happening to us. And now we have a past memory of loss, current memory of loss, which then fuels in our mind that there must be a future loss, and I'm never going to get out and I'm never going to make it. I'm here to tell you that that's a fucking lie. And I'm sorry I'm cussing like this, but I want you to really understand the emphasis, because I exist. I am Reverend Dr. Shock because I know my Amma. I know God. I know that nothing is wrong with me. Hence, nothing is wrong with you. Something happened to me. Subsequently, something happened to you. And I am determined to figure out before my last breath, what the hell we gonna do to get out of this and come together as one. Many of us, unfortunately, family, are not gonna make it. Let's just keep it real. I am no longer a motivational speaker. I am a trainer and a realist. Some of us are terminally ill. Some of us have created a life sentence and we're not getting out. And this is why you have to fight for your life. You are fighting for your life. And guess what, family? If you are one that might be terminally ill and in a life sentence, that does not have to be the direction of your children. Don't take your children with you. If you've given up, don't take your children with you. Give them some hope. Don't install all of your ambiguous loss into that child. So that child then becomes up and becomes you.
Teach.
Okay?
Teach.
This is what we're doing. Each one teach one.
Teach.
You cannot, this is called vertical transmission. If you have given up on your life, that has nothing to do with the life that you birthed and the life that you're responsible for. Ambiguous loss is understanding that this can go on for years or it can go on for a lifetime, right?
Hey.
So let's go into ambivalence and learning that we've learned literally how to be poor. We've learned that we've been socially engineered to struggle, to learn how to struggle. Because Black economic loss and trauma is a loss that goes on and on, those who experiences it say they become physically and emotionally exhausted from a relentless uncertainty. Relentless uncertainty. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I don't know what I'm gonna do. Oh my God, I got a gun charge. Oh my God, I got a court date and I can't pay for the court fees. I can't pay for the attorney. Oh my God, I'm gonna be locked up. What are they gonna do? Oh my God, I got kicked out of school. What am I gonna do? Uncertainty. How am I gonna pay this bill? Oh my God, I can't do this. I can't do that. You see, that's racial battle fatigue. Talked about it. We know about it. We hear the term, but we don't know how to associate it with it. We're exhausted. So why don't I show up and do workshops and I'm so damn tired? Then, because of trauma, this is the sickness of the body trying to heal itself. Because you're so damn tired, have you ever been so damn tired you can't get to sleep? Have you ever been so damn tired that you suffer from insomnia that you lay down because you're exhausted, but you're looking up at the ceiling because you're worried about all the shit that you have to do and what you have to wake up to tomorrow? What we have to wake up to tomorrow is killing us tonight.
Jesus. Sir, you need, wow. So you're talking my life right now.
Sister,
Oh my
Eureka,
God.
are you listening to this, man?
Oh, this is rough. Like, I have to pause you there. I have
Come
to,
on,
because
Eureka.
actually, it's sad.
Y'all got me sweating up in here. I'm perspiring.
You're sweating. I'm sweating. It's only 24 degrees today, so it's not actually that bad. I'm saying to you that I think all of us have gone through something that you have experienced, and I just feel that you're talking right now, and it's resonating so much. It is resonating so much, and it's actually making me sit here and go, "Oh my God, I did that!" Or "Oh my God, maybe I really do need to talk to that person again." Or you know, it's just so scary. Exactly how much we are all experiencing very similar things, but we are all at the same time trying to experience it within our own little bubbles because we feel that that's the best way to deal with it. But actually, clearly, you can see on something like this that it's best if we come together as a community and discuss it. But we just don't have that trust, right?
Right, exactly. Well, there's a level of shame that comes with ambiguous loss, right? There's a shame body where we don't want anybody to know that we're hurting, that we're losing, that we're not winning. You know, I know for a fact, as people have told me this, but I can say this about Andrew. I know for a fact Andrew has no idea how important he is to the community. Because where the hell did you go to get this information? Where? What program, platform, and I'm not talking about just me as Rare Shock or Doc Shock, but where the hell did you go to get this kind of information? Andrew is so important. But now here's the problem though. With his level of importance comes a huge responsibility and accountability, almost to the point of being a burden, but it's not a burden. It's just an ambiguous loss because he's not getting all of the support that he really truly needs to keep this thing not going, but growing. Mm-hmm. See, you can keep things going and just, running the stand still, but you're not growing. You're not moving up. You're just moving laterally through life and you end up dead, right? As they say, life is a bitch and then you die. That's not how we're supposed to be living. That's not how we're supposed to be living. We have to have a sense of purpose, but when you don't have a sense of purpose, then you live according to the low-class environment. And everybody then writes your history and script because you don't have a script of your own. So when we understand fathers reported more depression, fathers now, men, more depression, insomnia, and somatic symptoms such as backaches, headaches, aches, and stomach ailments than even the mothers. The tremendous, okay, let me deviate and come back. 1681 anti-miscegenation law came down and invented what this new class of group we call white people. There was no such thing as white people in the Dark Ages in Europe and ancient Europe. They never referred to themselves as white. White is an American-made thing. In those laws, a cluster of laws, the first law was a person of African descent could not run for office or vote. The second law was a person, after they invented white people, the second law is a person of African descent could not own guns or powder. That is a direct attempt to emasculate the African man. I can no longer own a gun to protect myself and my family, nor could I own a gun to hunt and eat and feed my family. This has been going on long before we showed up today. This has been installed and it has created an ambiguous law. And of course, the third law that came down in anti-miscegenation was a person of African descent could not sue or take legal action against this new designation of humanity called white people. So do you understand when a Black man cannot feed himself or his family? Of course he's violent. Of course he's chaotic, because that's his purpose. That's his purpose, is to provide and to protect. When he can't do that, he's emasculated. As a result, that's the making of the real thug, or what we call the real nigger. So I can't be nice, so I'm just going to be an asshole to everybody. I'm just going to take it because I can't make it. If I can't make it, I have to take it. Nothing's wrong with our Black men. Shit has happened to us. This is why we are the way we are. And then the sisters, they don't understand what happened to us in anti-miscegenation. They don't understand that in order for, once slavery became illegal and slave breeding became the norm, our population went from a couple of 100,000 to 3 to 4 million in a matter of 5 to 10 years. Why? Because they took the son and put a bag over his head, and they took the mother and put a bag over her head, and they forced the son to mate with the mother, so that the mother becomes pregnant and creates a breed that runs the plantation. This is where the term motherfucker comes from. You understand? Shit has happened to us. Shit has happened to us. This is why we have baby mamas and baby daddies. So when you see men copulating with multiple women, having multiple babies, it's because of they're living the genetic memory of being bred and slave breeding. There's a cause to every effect, family. And I'm here today, I'm bringing you hard love today. As I said, I'm not a motivational speaker, I'm a strategist. Because I can motivate you and I can come out here and rah-rah sis boom bah. You gotta be hungry, you gotta be motivated. You gotta, if life knocks you down, try to land on your back, because if you can look up, you can get up. I used to do Les Brown stuff all the time because Les Brown trained me. But here's the problem with motivational speaking and just self-help systems. They don't solve your damn problems, they just make you happy in a moment. And so a lot of that self-help stuff, it does not work because our trauma is so deeply embedded in us. There's such ambiguity of loss that we have faced that we cannot make what we are. We'll go to a seminar or workshop, a real estate seminar and workshop. Everybody there is doing great. And for some reason, that shit don't work for us. I don't know why. It's like everybody else. And that's part of the shame, Jarita, is that, oh, you see it working for somebody else. Why ain't it working for me? It's because you have a different, every trauma has a different, has a fingerprint. It's different and manifests differently in each individual, right? So the uncertainty makes Black economic trauma and loss the most distressful of all losses, leading to symptoms that are not only painful, but often misdiagnosed. We're not mentally ill. We're just mentally ill from being captured, corralled, and interrupted by mentally ill people. Pavlovian conditioning can cause humans to unconsciously flinch from even thinking about a serious personal problem they have, such as Black economic loss and trauma, which is referred to as an UG feel. Now, I'm going to tell you a personal story of mine. The Ugg field forms a self-shadowing blind spot covering an area desperately in need of optimization and posing huge costs. So there was a time in my life I couldn't pay any bills. I had no money. So bills were coming in, and what would I do? And I learned this from my mother. Again, vertical transmission. We learned from our immediate environment. So there's in psychology, there's what's known as avoidance syndrome, where you avoid and you hide because of the shame. So one of the Ugg fields is whenever a bill would come in, I would just take it and put it up on top of the refrigerator. I would never even open it because I knew it was a bill. You could always know it's a bill, particularly if it's a late fee, because it's either going to be blue or pink. And so we don't want that pink slip. We don't want those things that are coded with trauma and loss. So I would just put the damn bill up there and, hope that it goes away. This is what a lot of us do, is that we avoid and we hope that it'll go away, and we'll act like it doesn't exist. Meanwhile, it's building up energy and accruement, and the next thing you know, your credit is shot. Now, comedians would tell you when you call up and when they call you up and you're being chased by creditors, and they say, well, this is going to affect your credit. And the comedians will say, well, my credit's already fucked up. This ain't doing nothing for me. I don't give a rat's ass about no damn credit. But we justify the loss and act like it's not really a loss, but it really is. But we'll act like it doesn't affect us because as a result, it's the shame. And I'm a grown man. I'm in charge of mine. But here's the problem. Some of us as grown men, when we can't solve our problems, we feel like a child. We feel like why can't I solve my own problems? And so this starts to create a dynamic in the family of abuse, emotional abuse, psychological abuse, all measures therein. So it's also known as the wall of shame or the wall of awful. Each failure from economic ambiguous loss brings negative emotions, guilt, and disappointment. These smaller emotions become stronger feelings of anxiety, shame, and even loneliness, which is isolation, if one is repeatedly rejected because of their economic errors. Each time these negative emotions are experienced, another brick is placed into that person's wall of shame. Right? This is the stacking effect. Will Smith talked about this bricklaying in his autobiography, which was absolutely amazing. And we see it. We see the cracks, right? Will Smith, we saw the cracks in our people. When our people are acting up and acting out, that is ambiguous loss. He's a multimillionaire, but he's still experiencing ambiguous loss and trauma. So the wall of awful is the emotional barrier that prevents us from initiating tasks and taking the necessary risks to reach our goals. So we procrastinate. I can't do that. It ain't gonna work. I tried that. It don't work. I ain't gonna do that. No, I'm just gonna sit up in here and watch Kevin Hart. Okay, with nothing wrong with Kevin Hart because I love me some Kevin Hart. But you understand what I'm saying? It's like we try to escape, right? So we don't go into something that's going to help us. We go into things that will just humor us. This is why we're number one in the world in comedy and escapism, because we don't know how to solve our problems. So let's laugh about it. Let's look at good times. So I would look at good times and laugh at Jim, at JJ, and the family dynamic. The undergirth, I'm losing. They're never going to win. So then so further in the week when I watch the Jeffersons, I look at George and Wheezy as impossible. It's impossible for me to make that kind of money and live that kind of life because I just watched Good Times and it told me I'm in the projects and I'll never win. And I came from the projects. So you understand the psychological and social engineering and the propaganda machine of media and how insidious these sumbitches are, that they literally install in our children for them to lose. You saw the prison pipeline. You saw fourth grade, just your grade in the fourth grade. They know how many prisons to build in that community. So acceptance is not apathy. Let's be clear about this, fam. You must accept what has happened to you in order to do something about it. This is even in the AA 12-step program. Apathy means you have given up and accepted that you have lost and can never win. That's the terminal illness, life sentence concept that I talked about earlier. The difference between a failure and a loser. A failure keeps trying until they win. That's me, right? I am your biggest failure on earth. I have failed. I have lost count. I have lost count how many fails I've had, which is why today I'm winning. But I'm still having failures. I'm still suffering losses, right? I'm still getting certain things are happening to me from people that are betraying me and treating me poorly and doing things behind my back. I'm still going through it. I'm sure Andrew goes through it. All of you go through it by matter of degree, right? And so you fail your way forward. So failing is the best thing that can happen to you. Losing is the worst thing that can happen to you. So failures keep trying until they win. Losers lose and never try again because they failed and they don't have the spiritual, the mental, and emotional strength to keep going. Now I'm going to introduce you to yet another concept that's a medical concept. This is in the medical community, and
So,
I'm a multidisciplinarian.
Dr. Reverend,
Yes,
just
sir.
two quick things. You've literally got 10 minutes left, King.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, 10 minutes left. All right, then, my King. So I'll just
Perfect.
yeah.
No, this is great because this is at the end of it. So this is good. So I want you to understand what's known as refeeding syndrome. Now, refeeding syndrome is what happened to second frequency Amu in the Dark Ages. So I've been doing this deep research, and I'm getting ready to do a 12-week webinar with Brother Keenan Booker, who wrote the trilogy Kicked Out of Heaven, where he mapped out the entire life of the Amu after they came out of the ice. What happened to them during the Dark Ages, medieval times? What happened to them? Well, there was a mini ice age that a lot of people don't know about. There was massive heat waves. There was massive famines. There was just ridiculous amounts of disease that were stacking on top of each other. And so in the famine, where people went without food for months at a time, sometimes years at a time, where they would have to eat dead rodents on the street, they started eating each other. There's a photo of a family, of a husband and wife that butchered up their kids and was selling their children to eat for money, for food. Refeeding syndrome, this is how sick second frequency Amu got sick, that they were starved to the point when food was introduced to their bodies, they died. That's called refeeding syndrome. And these are the symptoms. You go without something for so long, you go without food for so long, when you get it, it kills you. Now let's take this concept and look at it from a Black economic refeeding syndrome. People who win the lottery, Black people who win the lottery end up more poor than they were prior to winning the lottery, because it's a refeeding syndrome. When you've never had a memory installed of success in life and money and wealth and winning, when you do win, if you are not clear as to what to do through that process, you're going to lose it all. You're going to have a refeeding syndrome. You're going to self-sabotage yourself. So due to the systemic lack and limitation that can last a lifetime, when you go without wealth and the ability to pay your life forward, you may experience what I am coining as Black economic refeeding syndrome. When your body, spirit, and mind has suffered from economic ambiguous loss and trauma, the brain searches for instant gratification, which causes a backfire effect when money materializes in your experience. How many of you had some money and you went out and turned it up as opposed to invested, right? And you have, Andrew's had tons of people on talking about what to do with your money, but when you get a little money, because of the ambiguous loss, because you feel a deficit inside of you, you want to feel good, you want to feel better, and you want instant gratification. So when there is no money, memory of money in your life experience, when you do receive it or achieve it, your brain body may reject it and may make your money and wealth and effective. So breaking this spell. Let's talk about it real quickly. You must shock your nervous system that has been overcome with Black economic trauma. Nothing's wrong with you, something happened to you. People with this level of trauma should not blame themselves or other family members for their frozen grief. Again, this was done to us. This is not our fault. It's not your fault that you're poor. It's not your fault that you're broke. It's not your fault that you're suffering from lack and limitation. It's not your fault that you can't pay your bills. Something happened to you. Labeling your plight as Black economic loss, Black economic ambiguous loss, helps name your invisible stress or stressor and begin the proper coping and grieving process with ambiguity named as the culprit. Self-blame is lessened. So I want you to stop blaming yourself and blame it on the ambiguity or blame it on the alcohol, as the old saying goes. All right. Les Brown says people are quitting before they are fired. They realize that today there are no guarantees and there are so many variables that affect your employment. This is a time when it's better to have opportunities working for you, making money on the side and not need it than to need it and not have it. So here it is, fam. I'm going to take 4 weeks because I got I got this stuff on fleek. I'm the dude on this. We got 4 weeks that we're going to do with Brother Andrew, Lady Adele, Dr. AJ Farmer. We might even have our special surprise guest, which is going to be Reverend Dr. Ray Hagins, but and also my team, Ma'at, Pi Ratio, Ron Spears. All of us are going to get together, and based upon my best-selling book, I think it was in 2003, called The Shockwell System, Developing the Mindset to Be Rich Before Becoming Rich. I'm going to give you and walk you through not just affirmations, but what we call treatments that will break this spell, because a frequency is a spell. You're not cursed, you're under a spell. And we have to break the spell, but we have to break it within inside of ourselves individually first, before we can then transfer it to our families and to our children. So I'm going to walk you through this for 4 weeks, the 5th, the 12th, the 19th, and the 26th of October. Andrew is going to be with me like we did before, and we're going to kick some ambiguous trauma ass. Okay. We are going to, you will not be the same going into this as you were when you come out. I don't care what has happened to you. Now, what I do know, ain't nobody on planet Earth got this. That I do know. So you're right where you're supposed to be, and there's a reason that you're here, and there's a reason that Andrew Muhammad showed up in our lives in this manner, in this space. Nothing happens by accident, right? So when he called me and he said, yo, bro, I want you to know we're going through some economic hardships here in the UK, and they're going through, we don't even have a prime minister. It's like, when the government is crazy. I'm like, what? I'm like, shit, this sounds like America. So he says, what can you do, beloved, that can help us out? Because you're the master strategist of this. And I said, yeah, man, well, I'm working on some research right now that I think when I bring it to the community, it will help them understand what has happened to them even further. But what are we going to do about it? How do we break the spell? How do we do a signal interruption that's permanent? So the brothers earlier that was on the, I forgot, what's the chef's name? I love him so much.
Chef Kev.
Chef Kev. Chef Kev was on earlier talking about us coming together and being together and what have you. This, we can't until we address this ambiguous loss and shame and trauma. When we do this within ourselves, you ain't got to go and try to find family members to help you. They'll find you. You will become the law of attraction, because you don't attract what you want, you attract what you are. So what is your frequency?
Teach.
What are you attracting in your life? What experiences that keep showing up in your life, in your experience, that you're demonstrating that you thought you had solved? Why do the relationships you got out of one relationship, you get in a new relationship, and it's the same crazy mofo? Why is this happening? Because you did not change and alter your frequency. You stayed within a frequency and experienced all the things within that frequency. And that's why you're just jumping and running around and you're running to stand still. This family, this workshop, this intensive, this 4-week experience is a departure of your old self. Remember, we talked about the trauma becomes your personality. We're changing your personality. We're removing your trauma. So you have not, some of you, and this happened to me, you've not met your happy self yet.
Woo! Say that again.
You have not
Wow.
met your happy self yet. You have not met your
Wow.
whole self yet because you were born in trauma. So the moment you came out of the womb, you had trauma installed in you epigenetically from your parents 350 years ago of epigenetics, which is we're 350 years, which puts us back into the whole slavery thing. So we're carrying the trauma of our ancestors that's ambiguous because it's decontextualized and it's inside of us and we don't know it's there. So we come here with it, then we deal with the trauma of our mother or father, our environment, and we never have met our whole self.
Woo!
So we're going to go through an exercise for the first time and bring some, don't bring a tissue, bring a box of tissues. All right, because this is going to be a cathartic situation. You know, look at me, I got just paper towel. I just fuck it. I don't care. I'm just going to break it down because it's going to be cathartic. You're going to heal in various ways for the first time that you've never healed before because you know somebody loves you. You know we support you. And you know Almost got you. That's why you keep waking up every day, right? Some of us ain't waking up tomorrow. But most of us wake up every day because Alma's giving us another chance to figure this out and what has happened to us. That's why we're here, and that's why we're doing what we're doing. So if also you're a member of our Patreon, we love you. We thank you for that. Probably the only guy that does $1 a month for our Patreon members. So if you just got $1 and that's all you can do, wonderful. Become a Patreon member of RevShock. Go on Patreon, type in RevShock. There's a ton of resources up there that can change your life and keep this moving. Also, you can go to affirmationofpower.com and you can download our Affirmation of Power, put it up on your wall, read it every day for seven times a day, 7 days a week. And all we do is simply say, family, I am one with first frequency. I am one with the
I am one
frequency. I am one with the first thought idea.
I am one with the first thought idea.
I am one with the firstborn people.
I am one with the firstborn people.
I am one with the only one.
I am one with the only one.
Ashe.
Ashe.
And so it is. Uncle Job Suneb family, that's Reverend Dr. Shock coming at you.
Brothers and sisters, we did try to warn you. We did try to warn you, brothers and sisters. Absolutely. Now, as I said, we don't have to be suffering. Just give me 1 second. We don't have to be suffering, brothers and sisters. Their depression doesn't have to be our depression. We are, Brother Reverend Shock, Dr. Reverend Shock, stated that, we are unconquerable. We are the people that are so close to nature. It doesn't have to be our downtime. Brothers and sisters, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad referred to us as the people of Shabazz, the tribe of Shabazz. And the word Shabazz literally means unconquerable. Those are the people that are literally closer to nature, closer to the environment than any other on planet Earth. We are the first direct descendants from the infinite intelligence, that first frequency that
absolutely
Dr. Reverend Shock has been speaking about. We are the tribe of Shabazz, as written down in the Bible, the children of Israel, the lost, but now found children of Israel. We are that people, brothers and sisters. And Dr. Reverend, today I salute you like I've never saluted you before, brother.
Thank you, beloved.
You took us on a journey that was absolutely personal, I think all of us, and I think for Dorita to turn on her screen shows that all of us, in one way or another, has shared that journey in one way or another. But as you
Sure.
said, brother, in very colorful language, that you know what? All of what we see around us is the matrix.
That's
Is
right.
that which is an illusion, because you went through all of that. You got your PhD, you got your
Yep.
international world respect, and literally, brother, you're doing works that those who came out of Oxford or Cambridge or Yale or Harvard can only dream of doing. Can only dream of doing.
I appreciate that. Absolutely. I say.
Absolutely powerful, brother. Brothers and sisters, as I said, our brother was very passionate today. So if any of the swearing may have disjointed you, understand that the brother was dealing with something that was so personal, so powerful. See, because in the UK, brother, out here is a bit more delicate than maybe in the US. But you know, our brother spoke very passionate. And I think that you can see that it was all in context, brothers and sisters. It was all in context. And this next course that we're doing is a 4-week course. I'm telling you, brothers and sisters, our family, we are preparing ourselves that we are not going to go down. We're not going to just be surviving. We're going to be kicking ass, as our brother just said. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
We will be absolutely, because I don't know about you, Reverend, but and I say this openly to everyone, brothers and sisters, I know that God loves me. I really do know. I use the word God. I do know that infinite intelligence, that first frequency, that force
Absolutely.
loves me. Why do I know that? Because it allows me still to wake up today. It allows me to still converse with you. If that love was still not there, and that beneficence and that mercy was not there, I wouldn't be here today. You wouldn't be there today.
That's right.
So the fact that we can
There's a reason why we're here. There's a reason why this is happening.
That's right. So, brothers and sisters, what a night. Now, Reverend, Dr. Reverend, I would like to, we've still got over 320 laptops on here right now.
Oh, wow.
I would like 5 minutes or so, 5 minutes or so, our big brother, because the reason why, brother, no, I haven't done this before. The reason why, brother, because you went so personal today, and you've done a lot of self-disclosure and a lot of self-testing that you don't have to do. You didn't have to do that, brother, and the lecturer is still doing. But you are so fearless now, brother. You don't worry about what. You're so secure within your own self that you can share intimate details and know that you are a God. You are you are still that same person. So, brothers and sisters,
that's right.
Brothers and sisters, you know, I'm so passionate about what this brother's done on this platform tonight. I'm going to give you an opportunity, brothers and sisters. If you'd like to say any words or ask a question to Reverend Shock, if you'd like to say any, how this felt for you tonight, could you raise your hand and we will allow you. And Reverend, if there are any questions, you know how we do it, brother. It's a 1 minute answer.
That's right.
You know how we're going to do it, because we're going over time. But brothers and sisters,
I'll do the best I can.
Brothers and sisters, if you would like to say any, or give any testimonies, how did you find our brother today? Were there any questions based on our brother today? I'll give you a quick moment to raise your hand, if you so do, and be able to converse with the brother directly, because I personally believe what this brother went through today was absolutely powerful. And because of time, I'll only be able to bring in 1 or 2 of you. So we've got an Ed Swims, I believe. Ed, can you unmute yourself?
Oh, brother. Ed.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, brother. What would you like to say to our beautiful brother?
I want to first and foremost say hello to the family, and for this young man. I've been acquainted with him a little bit more closely, recently than before, and it's one thing to appreciate what it is that he offers content, but the quality of this effort.
Oh, the signal's got a bit there, bro.
Of course, we're trying to take
You garbled up there, brother.
about-
Can you repeat that? Because it got garbled in the internet there.
Give me 1 second.
I think he's in a bad area somewhere. He's trying
What
to get
about
to
now?
the better area. Ah, much better.
Can you hear me, guys?
Yes, much clearer.
We can hear you.
Okay, you can you hear us?
Appreciating, yes, I can hear you guys.
Cool.
Go ahead, brother.
Yes, I can. Okay, no, just the quality of the effort that you're putting forth. The quantity is important too because of what you've been able to achieve. But the journey for you to be as adamant as you are about, reaching to get this stuff and to put it out there for all of us is really humbling. It's very, very humbling. And we appreciate you on every level, and definitely as a leader, as a mentor, as a brother, as whatever. You fit the description for all. So I'll go now.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you once again for you.
Ashe. Thank you, brother. Love you.
That's beautiful, brother Ed. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I know time is limited, but thank you. Brother Ron Spears, are you with us? Brother Ron.
Yes, sir.
The
Oh,
physicist.
yes, sir.
That's
We-
What's
dude.
going on?
You know we're gonna
What's
be
going on,
Excellent
beloved?
presentation, Doc Shock.
Thank you, sir.
Minister Ava Muhammad was a hero, a heroine of mine, Brother Andrew. So I was very, very saddened to hear about her passing a couple of days ago.
Ashe.
Yes.
Ashe.
She was one of the first ones that talked a lot about how we have the ability to use our minds to fight off and with what you're talking about, Rev Shot, that signal. She was one of the first ones that really talked about breaking those signals and those, let's say, those missiles coming our way. We can block them with our minds. And then she even also said, we are even so powerful, we don't even have to stop the bullets or the missiles because we can integrate with their mind and tell them, yeah, don't even bring that smoke this way.
That's absolutely right. That's right.
Ava Muhammad was a beast in that knowledge himself. So yeah, that's a great loss. And I'm sorry, you brought me on here. Did you want to ask me a question, Andrew, or,
no,
or just have me start running my mouth? Don't.
No. I know that you're a warrior in this and you're a big authority. It's just to see how you found Reverend Shock's breakdown today, because I thought it was absolutely magnificent.
Yeah, I mean, Rev Shock has a saying: "Truth recognizes itself." And one thing that I've learned in this quest for knowledge is, when it's sort of like that validation, because when I look at how I put in use the laws of physics to talk about for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. That's our God force battling with their signal, their epigenetic signal. And so when he's talked about, one step forward, 3 steps backwards, that's exactly what that is about. And so it's just sort of, we're all saying, when you're all saying the same thing, just different ways, that just knows it's truth.
Absolutely.
We just know that it's truth. So I just, you just see that validation. And what I was thinking as I'm listening to Rev Doc Shock, his life is a testimony. The best teachers were good students, and he's been a student of life. Unfortunately, the hard knocks, but it's just a testimony of where he is today is a result of what life has brought his way. And I share with your entire community that I was happy to hear that he made it through his battle with COVID a couple of weeks ago. So
Yes.
that's kind of what I
Thank you,
have
brother.
to say.
Thank you,
brother.
Ron. And I can't wait. Me and you've also got to touch base very soon about bringing you back onto the platform again. But thank you so much. Now we've got quite a few numbers of hands up. Time is very limited. In truth, time is very limited. So first, I would like to go to Professor Earl Taylor. Now, Professor Earl Taylor, I'm so happy that you raised your hand, because just let Reverend Shock know this is an ex-ambassador of Jamaica to Namibia. He's a world authority. He literally was one of the people that was responsible for a lot of the unification work in governmental levels right across Africa. He's a powerful man doing some great works in the Caribbean and in Africa. And as I said, he was the Jamaican ambassador to Namibia. So, Professor, what would you like to say, King?
Thank you very much. I've listened to Reverend Shock a number of times, and today he has been at the premium.
Absolutely.
He has put history in perspective. And I believe not only is it motivational, it is instructional.
Absolutely.
I want to encourage him to continue this presence,
yes,
and to make the African people proud as you are. I think that should be your major task, to revive the people, revive the culture, revive the ambitions and the possibilities. I think there are a lot of blocks in our lives, and we need to shut them out.
Yes, absolutely.
So I want to congratulate you tonight. It was par excellent.
Par excellent.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Earl. And
appreciate that.
Thank you, sir. And on a real tip, Dr. Reverend Shock, Professor Earl may be someone that you'd like to interview on your show.
Oh, I'd love to. Absolutely.
I'll send you this information about this brother. He's a global giant, brother.
Please.
And if we had more ambassadors, African and Caribbean ambassadors of the ilk of Professor Earl, we're going to be free overnight. This is a true ambassador.
Phenomenal. Looking forward to the relationship.
In touch with the ground struggle too. So, Professor Earl, thank you so much for those words. As I say, time is limited. I can see more hands going up, but I'm going to bring in my aunt and Makuru. Amen.
Greetings, Hotel.
Hey. What's up, goddess?
Man, come on, big bruh. How you didn't tell me this. You didn't, he talked to me earlier.
I did.
And he was just being so humble. He was just being so humble. I said, this guy, look, I was rocking in my seat. I was like, Brother Andrew, you got to turn my mic on. You got to do something. I got to get up here. The Red Shock. Listen, man, I've known Red Shock maybe about 2 years. He's my big brother. I have watched him really, he was already awesome.
Already.
This was God speaking tonight.
Come on.
Sure. This was God speaking and effortlessly.
Come on,
and that spirit came in so clear. So listen. I am just honored to be a part of First Frequency. I'm just sitting over here giddy watching my brother on here. I'm just, all right. I can't wait. I'm telling everybody about this. I'm telling you know how I get. You can't do nothing. Y'all can't do this to me. I'm going to tell everybody. Okay, everybody.
Everybody. That's what everybody.
But I just want to tell you how proud I am of him. I'm just sitting over here, just so giddy, and just that was God speaking for real.
Thank you. Oh, it's funny.
Thank you so
much. Ashe. Thank you, my beloved.
Sister, thank you so much, Sister Ma'at. We love you, sis. We need you back. There's so many people we need back on the show. We're gonna.
I know.
Sister Shirley, you will be the last person. Sister Shirley Powell.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can hear you clearly, my queen.
Lovely. I want to just say it's a privilege and an honor to meet Rev Shock. and
Likewise.
you lived up to your name tonight. I mean, wow. I was like, wow. But one thing I would like to say, I'm definitely going to follow you and look into attending your course. But what I was
Sure.
going to say is, when you talk about the first frequency, do you mean raising your vibrations? As I feel that if you're saying an affirmation, it's important to understand what you're saying and why you're saying it in order to change the mindset. Would you agree?
Sure. I agree, but we are first frequency. We are the first frequency. So when Amma decided to multiply itself into human organic form, everything comes from carbon, everything comes from dark energy and dark matter. And that's why we're the dark people and we're children of the sun. So we are made perfect, whole, and complete. So the first people were the African people. We were the first frequency. We were the first thought. We were the first concept, the first gestation of all humanity.
Amen.
That's us. That's us.
Okay.
We are the divine. We are gods on earth. We are gods and goddesses walking this earth. And that is our frequency. But the signal has been interrupted.
Yes, I agree.
I would not say it has been corrupted, because you cannot corrupt first frequency. You cannot corrupt God. You cannot corrupt Amma. You cannot corrupt Ma'at.
No way.
But you can interrupt a signal. And so that's what we're going through. And my job, this incarnation that I'm having in this 57-year experience is to awaken my people to how to counter that second frequency that is interrupting our greatness.
Wow, that's so powerful. Thank you for sharing that. And
Thank you,
I
Goddess.
definitely resonated. I'm so glad that you shared your story. God bless you, sir.
Sister
Thank you.
Shock,
God bless you, Goddess. Thank you.
may God bless you, Reverend Shock, because as I said, I don't normally do this. I had to open up to see, was it just me that felt this way? It was absolutely, as Professor Earl has
Have you
stated,
in my hand?
par excellence, brother, par excellence what you've done today. And we thank you so much for that. And I just had to allow other people to bear witness to what you've just done. So as Reverend Shock, Dr. Reverend Shock has stated, the courses are available. Hit the links tonight, brothers and sisters. The breakdown of the courses is online. All the information is online. Sister Jarita, Brother Jamie's been hitting that link. If you are serious about not just surviving this cost of living crisis, which is worldwide, then brothers and sisters, the only way we could do it is one, in unity, and in two, having not just the power of unity, but right guidance. We need the best minds in the fields that can guide us and take us through that. So brothers and sisters, once again, we thank you for being on the Hidden Truth tonight. And Reverend Shock started off with this. You are not cursed. You are not an accident. You are not a mistake. You are gods and goddesses made in the image and likeness of the cosmic creator, making you perfect, infallible, and guess what? Undefeatable. We call it the tribe of Shabazz. Yeah, you are unconquerable, brothers and sisters.
Yes.
Be yourself. So, brothers and sisters, can you please drop some ones if you felt our brother today. Drop some ones if you felt our brother today, because personally, I was blown. I was near enough emotional tonight listening to my brother and understanding the forces that he had to go through that shaped him into what we call Dr. Reverend Shock tonight. So come on, brothers and sisters, drop some ones if you felt the brother tonight. Magnificent. And we thank Allah, we thank the infinite intelligence for making sure this brother, his life was not over yet. He's got more work to do in our community. So we thank you, Dr. Reverend Shock. We want to give a big shout out to Terry Jervis. Remember, brothers and sisters, Tropical Island, we're looking at, because of his Hidden Truth. Come on, man. We're going to get £5 tickets available. You know what, man? Come on, man. If you don't get that £5, you spend your £9, £10, and we support Black businesses. This is our Disney World. Don't cuss Disney and Sesame Street for ill-treating our children at their parks when we are not even supporting the creation of our own parks. This is a red carpet treatment, okay? Cinema experience with prizes and music and games and fun. Next Sunday, I believe, or Saturday, the 4th of September, whatever, Sunday, the 4th of September, coming up very soon. Get your tickets, brothers and sisters. Bring your nieces, bring your children, bring your nieces, bring your godchildren, whatever it may be. Let's pack it out, brothers and sisters, and show that we can do our own. We can do for self. Brothers and sisters, Tropical Island will be with us 4th of September. Jarita, Brother Jamie, drop the links down. Brothers and sisters, spread the word. Contact your friends and family to get their tickets now. Don't forget, next week, we will launch our own tickets. So after you've gone to Tropical Island, that's for the children. This is now for big man, big woman time. We are